Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I want to talk about the massive under-tapped resource that is self-education and self-learning and compare it to academic learning. It's going to be an incredibly powerful video.
Don't get it confused, don't get it confused. Yeah. I'm in tune, yeah. I'm in tune.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a high school dropout. I dropped out at 17 years old and pretty much just stopped doing my homework and stopped doing my school because there was no reason for me to do it, because I was pursuing these online things and I was starting to make a little bit of money, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go hard on this. I saw that it could turn into something incredible, and so I've devoted my life to it now. And it's paying off incredibly well. At 18, I'm able to buy my dream car, and I'm here now with my business partner, and this month alone in our consecutive businesses, we've ranked in over $5,200 in recurring client payments on a monthly basis. My business has brought me in quite a bit of money as well. I mean, there's so much opportunity here. And so I want to talk about, especially for entrepreneurs and people who literally, they just want to make money. They don't know if they have any sort of like they don't, I feel like people go to college when they want to become a heart surgeon, right? But if you just want to make money, you don't have to have an academic education at all. And I'm going to explain in this video why that's the case and why self-education is such an incredible resource. So, self-education. If you want to teach yourself, this is the best generation to do it. This is the best time on the planet to do this, because we have resources like Google, like YouTube, like we can Google a good book to read on a topic as well. We don't need a library anymore. We have things like Audible. We can get on Amazon and research books on our own time and buy them for $4 a piece and have them shipped to our house so we can take that information in. We live in the information age. So as long as you are self-aware of what it is that you need, then you can create an incredible self-education, right? And so I think a lot of people rely on a system to educate them because it's easy to not be self-aware. And so it's easy for people to look at, say, public school or maybe government education of some kind or a college and say, okay, that's a safe route to go. And for a lot of people, it may be. But for myself, it's a stupid move for me right now because it would remove momentum from my current business. And it would force me to no longer be able to thrive in the self-education environment that I've created for myself. So here in this Airbnb, I'm spending time with my closest business partner, and we are sort of masterminding and working together on our consecutive projects, and we bounce off of each other. And because our businesses are almost in the same exact niche, we can learn from each other in a massive way, right? Not only that, but the amount of books that you can find online, the amount of courses that you can buy. Now, it's not so much, what I'm not referencing is the fact that there's a lot of information out there. That's true. But what I'm saying is that having self-awareness and knowing what it is that you need will guide you along a path to pursuing the things that you need now that we have an open door for it, thanks to the internet. So the internet is a tool. It's a resource that can be used for good and evil. There's plenty of evil things that go on the internet, and there's plenty of wonderfully good things that go on the internet. And the things that the internet is, and the thing that it is to you, is a reflection of you, right? And so that's the same with your self-education. So it's not about somebody else telling you what you need to learn. It's about you being able to be self-aware enough of knowing where your strengths are so that you can utilize them, where your weaknesses are so that you can keep them from getting so bad that they hurt you, and then forming your education around those things, right? And so we live in the information age, right? And this is just common knowledge that where we live right now in the timeline of humanity is one of the best times to be a self-educated human, because of the fact that we live in a place where we can Google anything. So if you merge self-awareness and information age at a proverbial intersection, then you have something incredible. Like, you have something that is just perfect. And so that's really what I guide people along. Whenever people ask me, why'd you drop out of high school? I tell them, well, We live in the information age, and I run a business, which happens to help me a lot in being self-aware, because the marketplace tells you, like, automatically if you are or aren't valuable. It just gives you a literal number as to how valuable you are to it. And you can look at that and say, oh shoot, I need to increase my value, and I need to be a more valuable person in the marketplace. Now, let me underline that. Just because you're not valuable to the marketplace doesn't mean you're not a valuable family member. Are you a valuable family member? Yes. Are you a valuable friend? Yes. Are you a valuable, partner? Yes. In marriage? Yes. Right? Are you valuable in the eyes of God? Yes. Everyone's valuable in the eyes of God. But in the marketplace is, it's a swift and keen mistress that only awards those who deserve it. It never gives money to people that don't deserve it. And so it's really easy to become self-aware. So if you merge the information age with a kid who runs a business, right, who actually offers something for sale and brings a service or a product to the marketplace, then you have something incredible. And that's why I dropped out of high school. Because within a month of doing business, I was able to learn more, really, truly learn more practical, applicable wisdom that I could take for the rest of my life and apply to the rest of my life than really I learned in years of doing school. Because school is just, it's not bent around your game. It asks of you to memorize and regurgitate for the sake of the grades themselves, not the information. But if you merge self-awareness and information age at this intersection, and the way you get self-awareness, once again, is by running a business, then you have something incredible. And so, let me add that to it. Running a business. Right? So if you add being self-aware, information age, and running a business, which running a business fuels the self-aware part, then we have something awesome. And that's why I dropped out of high school, because it just became completely irrelevant to my journey. And so I'm going to stop using the whiteboard. I'm going to talk to you guys about this a little bit. So self-education is this. It's this cycle. It's a feedback loop. It's, I quit. I decided not to let another system define my education. And I started my own education, just on my own time, by studying my own things. 1 month alone, I spent over $4,000 in courses and education from mentors and people that I want to learn from in business. And I probably spent more than that on books and, whatever else I can get my hands on. And that's just how it's supposed to be. Now we have self-education. I said I'd stop using the whiteboard, but I lied. We have self-education, and then we have, I guess we can call it structured education, or maybe government education. Let's call it government education. Government education. Right? And so, the issues with government education. The issues are that typically, and especially with the American government, a lot of the decisions that are made aren't made by the people who go through the education system. They're made by people at the top who believe they know what's best for them. And so, it's a board of people that doesn't really have self-awareness. It only has awareness of what it thinks is going on. It doesn't really have, so there's no self-awareness. No self-awareness. And because of this, there's no iteration. And what is iteration in this context? Well, essentially, any system should work like this. Any system should have, inputs. Then we have outputs. And then we come back with iteration, which is this, and then it feeds the inputs again. And then it learns from itself. But government education, though it does have a slight version of this, it takes a long frickin' time for anything to change. And because it doesn't care, because it has taxpayer money, so it has no incentive to increase itself, and it just spirals downward forever. And it will never catch up with self-education. And so this is how I view it, right? Self-education is this feedback loop in a positive way. You have inputs and outputs. So I input good information. Outputs is I see it tested. And then the iteration is I continue seeking that same good information. Whereas if I have a bad input, it turns into a bad output, and I iterate, I remove it. Whereas with the government and most education systems that we utilize today are inputs, outputs, and an iteration that takes 150 freaking years. And so that's why I dropped out, because it really just stopped making sense. And even though I really wasn't relying on the government for my education, I'm more so speaking to everybody else. I was actually homeschooled. And so I did school at home, and we bought third-party programs. But even those programs are the same way. They have inputs and outputs, and the iteration takes, 40 years or something. So, because we can't see what the information is doing to our kids 30 years from now until it's 30 years from now, and then we can say, oh shoot, we should probably change this. So with self-education, though, you can test your theories instantly and then see if they work, and if they don't, you cut it, and if they do, you keep it and improve it. So that's self-education versus government or structured education, or really whatever word you want to use there. So let me sum up the video with this. Should you or should you not drop out of college, or if you're so bold as to drop out of high school as I have, should you do that? Well, I encourage everybody to have a few things. I encourage everybody to have an understanding of money, right? I encourage everybody to have an understanding of relationships, how to build relationships with people, how to win friends, right? I encourage people to have an understanding of their faith, if you have one. If you don't, then seek it. And then as well, I encourage people, this is just my personal opinion, to run a business. Because if you run a business, it forces you to become self-aware. And it forces you to be able to look at yourself and say, okay, this is where I suck and this is where I'm good. And if you have that self-awareness, then the self-education feedback loop of input, output, and iteration is a good one. Because you're aware of the outputs, right? So you know where you suck. You don't have to be told, right? And so that's huge. That's absolutely huge. And so this video was a little complex and a little bit different and a little bit out of the way of the typical norm of this channel. But this is self-education versus academic or structured or government education, or whatever you want to say. Essentially, education outside of self. And we have every reason to be self-educators in this time of humanity. With every reason. There's honestly no reason why this should even exist, to be honest with you. We should be teaching people how to teach themselves and then letting them go. Like, they should be 7 years old and already graduated. That's my super controversial opinion on all this. This shouldn't even be around anymore. It's just stupid. So, alright, well that's my video. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Any feedback or maybe criticism that you have of my viewpoints, or maybe any things that you agree with. I would love to hear. So as well, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I have a bunch of people that DM me all the time with questions like this. If you'd like to get to me, honestly, that's the best place to go. And yeah, like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Don't get it confused, don't get it confused. Yeah. I'm in tune, I'm in tune, I'm in tune, yeah, yeah. I'm in tune, I'm in tune, I'm in tune, yeah.